Two analysts in ISIS Malaysia are looking into the problem of drug usage in Malaysia and policies of the current government on drug addiction. What is the situation of drug usage in Malaysia? What happens if someone is caught with drugs in Malaysia? What is the current policy and what are the ways forward? Salina and Ariane from ISIS Malaysia.
Okay, so the first thing that we would say is that Agency Anti-Dadah Kebangsaan, which is our national anti-drug agency, it has experienced an increase in the number of arrests, I think from 2013 onwards until today. There has also been a steady increase in drug use amongst different age groups. And there has also been an increase in the use of ATS, amphetamine type stimulants, which has kind of become the #1 drug over opioids.
The trends that Ariane just described are captured by ADK based on the arrests made from 2013 to 2017. Please also note that the term that ADK uses is drug dependence, on the premise that each drug user that was arrested has a dependence on drugs. But actually not all of them has a dependence on drugs.
And I think the last thing to pick up about the situation of drug usage in Malaysia is that any data that the government has on drug use is only based on users who have entered the criminal justice system. So if I am a drug user and if I am a drug addict, but I have not been arrested before, I will not be captured by any statistics that we have on drugs. So that is a limitation that all stakeholders are currently facing moving forward in trying to formulate a better national drug policy in the country.
There are 5 classes of drugs. There are opiates, marijuana, amphetamine type stimulants and methamphetamines, benzodiazepines and others. So the drugs that are classified under Dangerous Drugs Act 1952 are opiates, opiates like heroin and morphine, marijuana, and ATS and methamphetamines. Like benzodiazepines and others, these are actually under Poisons Act 1952 and not Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. Ketum is actually under Poisons Act 1952, whereas glue is not regulated. If you are caught with ketum in your possession, you may be charged under Poisons Act 1952. But if you are caught using ketum, you may not be charged under Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. However, with glue, if you're caught using glue, you may not be charged at all because glue is unregulated.
Okay, this is the most interesting part. There's actually different sentencing for the same offense depending on the authority who made the arrest. So there are 3 different sentencing: incarceration, treatment and rehabilitation, and supervision. So let's say you are caught on the street by PDRM, you may be caught under, and if you are under the influence, you may be caught and charged under Section 15(1)(a) of Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. And let's say you are caught by ADK, you may be charged under Section 6(1)(a) or Section 8(3)(a) of Drug Dependence Treatment and Rehabilitation Act 1983, which will put you under compulsory rehabilitation. Or PDRM or AADK could put you under supervision. So there are 3 different sentencing, depending who caught you.
So Malaysia's current policy on drug treatment and rehabilitation is one of incarceration and criminalization of drug use. This has contributed to overcrowding in prisons, with about 44% of prison inmates being drug users and about 14% being arrested for activities such as drug pushing and drug trafficking. On average, we have found that those in prison on drug-related charges can stay in prison anywhere from 3 months to 3 years, with about 11% leaving up to 90 days in prison. There are also financial implications of court-mandated incarceration, rehabilitation, and supervision. It is worth mentioning that the cost of keeping an offender in prison is around 20,000 ringgit per year, whereas the cost of keeping someone in court-mandated counselling is only a quarter of that, at an estimated 5,000 ringgit per year. But since 2005, we have seen quite a bit of effort from the government in trying to transition slowly Malaysia's national drug policy from one of incarceration to one that is more health and social based. In 2005, the government tried implementing quite successfully what is known as harm reduction, which simply means to reduce all harms associated with drug use. There were two programs involved. One included needle and syringe exchange programs, and the other included methadone maintenance therapy, which is basically to provide heroin users with a drug called methadone in exchange for heroin usage. Since the implementation of harm reduction in 2005, there has been a decrease in relapse rates for opiate users with regards to those who have actually entered the harm reduction programs. And the challenge now for the government is in trying to implement more of these programs with regards to new drugs such as ATS, amphetamine type stimulants. Okay, so for the year 2019, ISIS Malaysia has decided to focus specifically on ATS usage. From all of our engagements with stakeholders in the last 2 years that we have looked at drug abuse in the country, we have found that ATS is where the gap in research currently lies, not just in Malaysia, but in the region as well. So one of the activities that we have come up with is a regional roundtable in April, where we are gathering experts on ATS in the region, from Australia, from the US, from Thailand, from Indonesia, to come together and to figure out what needs to be done in order to put forward a national strategy on addressing ATS.
We hope that this roundtable will support the Deputy Prime Minister's call to view drug addiction from the lens of health and social instead of from a criminal justice perspective.